Have you found that your coworkers are all similarly dedicated faith-wise, or is there any kind of disparity there, guy to guy, or are you guys all pretty much that way?
Everybody on the team pretty much is.
Yeah.
And I mean, there may be, fluctuations of, denominations, but everybody seems to have a faith-based reality with their families. And one of the things that I find with my old teammates and what made us such a good team is with faith comes humility and selflessness and sacrifice and all those things, all those ethos and buzzwords you guys on the teams need and we need on the domestic LE spec ops side and just LE in general. And to this day, I mean, talking to several of the guys on the way down here, hey, I'm going to be with Mike, 6 years later, and man, a lot's changed. And they send a lot of gratitude because you were the first studio appearance podcast I had ever done.
Wow.
And the book was brand new. It was edition 1. We had literally just launched it a couple months before that. And here I am, sitting down with you for a better part of 4 hours and diving in as deep as you could go.
Yeah.
And the guys really appreciated that, not only on the canine front, but just the conservation side of what we're fighting for domestically. And who knew what would have happened to the southern border? And I know I'm not going to jump ahead, but all the train wreck we saw there. But really that message of getting the message out on a larger scale started with you, man.
Well, that's awesome. It's humbling to say the least. It's still one of my favorite interviews, and it's interesting, even though it's been 6 years. Watching the numbers still go up, and people still commenting or even sending messages in still about that episode. That to me, it I think speaks volumes to how critical and important what you've done and continue to do, as well as just the message in your book. And you've been on so many interviews since then, including Rogan, which is pretty awesome, right? But it's just, I think to me, it's an absolute honor to have been able to sit down with you and do it in the first place. So again, I appreciate both then and now coming. Do you have a favorite quote?
I do, and I have a lot of quotes, and you remember from Hidden War, every chapter starts with a quote, and there's a lot of them, but I've quoted Chief Nancy Foley, who was one of my friends and mentors way back in the day. She ran our covert, undercover, deep cover team, and then she became the first female chief of the agency right before Mike Carrion on his way out formed up Met. But obviously Nancy had an uphill battle, right? Being in that demographic and being a chief of a wildlife agency, conservation officers that are very traditionally like military, like firefighters, like law enforcement. You just don't see too many women as chiefs at the time. And I remember she would always tell her cadets, and she would always tell her ambassadors, which I was honored to be one of, with new ideas, outside the box thinking. Once this cartel presence got started on the environmental crime front, a lot of the traditional things just were not going to work. And she always had an ear. But her quote, man, that to this day just resonates the older I get, is change is inevitable, growth is optional. And man, when I think about that of us operationally, I think about what you did professionally and what you do on the military side, on the SEAL team side, but then on outreach, we got to adapt. And man, with what's going on in the country now and what you and I have seen in the last 6 years with a change of administration and COVID lockdowns and pandemics and what the world's just been through, it just applies more now than ever.
Yeah, it's. To me, I think it's such a great quote because it's almost like time passing. You're not gonna stop it. And change is very much that same way. EDC wise, are you rocking anything different, or what are you currently rolling with?
I don't think we had the G48 wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
I know the MOS version of it on the Glock front. I'm kind of a Glock or SIG at the top level guns. Both are going to work just fine.
Yeah.
As you know, I carried a Glock for almost 30 years, and every 10 years we would get those replaced in agency with the next generation. So I went from a Gen 2 to a Gen 3 to a Gen 4. Then I retired operationally, and then I'm back training with my Met guys. And Shang, call sign in the book, who's a new lieutenant that replaced me, one of my Delta snipers, and a really good buddy. They got the Gen 5s, and they switched to 9mm, back from 40, right? That evolution.
Yeah.
But then they were finding with ballistic testing and everything with bonded 147 grain bullets. They did a great job, and then they made that 48. And it was just like the right size, where it wasn't too subcompact, but it was small enough to carry, satchel carry, hip carry, whatever I'm doing. And now I've just upgraded that to the COA system that they've allied with Aimpoint, and they put that Aimpoint COA on. And we were an Aimpoint agency, T1 and H1 microdots on our POF, carbines. And that little system is just a great system, and I get some high capacity out of it. And that little gun packs a lot of punch with the 147.
Is that what you carry most of the time? Just around
Most of the
town?
time, yeah. I have a bunch of SIGs. I train on a bunch of SIGs, and I still do the occasional class for new shooters, for veteran shooters, for people wanting to get practical defensive pistol tactics down. And they always see what I'm shooting, and they're like, "Hey, I want to try that Glock." I go, "That's great. Try it. Get the feel. See how that grip is, how your stance is, if it's ergonomic for you, and if not, try this SIG."
Yeah.
And it's like a 50-50 split
Yeah.
of what my students are going for. And both guns are great. But being a Glock guy and being an armor and having them all those agencies and doing some commercials for Glock and having corporate help us out, we did several things with, like I said, Rick from American Zealot Productions, just featuring what I was carrying pre-retirement and then post-retirement, and highlighting the 48 platform. And it's been a real good pistol. So
Maybe stay away from the SIG 365, right?
might want to do that for now. Yeah, until they work that all out. And I think they have, but yeah.
That shit's crazy, man.
It is, especially from SIG.
Yeah.
You just, hey, machinery, mechanics, human error, but did not see that coming from that
me either.
powerhouse.
And there's been too many misfires to say that it's fucking human error. I mean, shit, half of them are on video. Whether it's body cams or dash cams or whatever.